welcome back to my next installment of Woman Once Removed. This video will be the most controversial video I've ever done. There will be people who will hate it. There will be people who will love it. There will be people who were jealous that they weren't able to do it. So, sit back and watch it if you dare. But I will not allow negative comments, because this is my life story, and I can't change my life story. That's the way it was. And what I'm fixing to talk about now happened 40 years ago. So, enter if you dare. Y'all, so you made it this far over, so you're brave enough. So I will say that in the old days, transsexuals, if they could pass, not just on the street, not just in dark lights, but if they could pass after they had surgery, many of us did not tell that men were we involved with, whether they were boyfriends or husbands, because just wasn't something that we felt we were morally obligated to do. A lot of that had to do with the fact that the doctors told us we didn't have to, and our lawyers told us we didn't have to. So it wasn't something that we were morally, in our opinion, obligated to tell. Now, the ones that couldn't totally pass after they transitioned and had surgeries, of course, they had to tell. People knew, and they usually lived on the fringe of society, and they married men that were not exactly the kind of men that the others of us wanted to have. We wanted to have some decent men in our lives. And back then, men did not show respect for trans women. They considered us second-class citizens. So if we could get by with it, we did. Now, my first husband, he knew, because he was the best friend of a roommate I had, boyfriend. So he knew to begin with. And he treated me okay at first, and then it got real rocky real quick. And when that ended, I said to myself, I'll never tell another one. If he don't know it, if he can't tell it, then I'm not telling him. I don't feel like I'm obligated to. And so the next man that I met, and I'll show you pictures in a minute, and he did not know. He acted like I was just any other genetic born female. He treated me so nice. Introduced me to all his friends and his family and all that. It was just a wonderful situation. And I felt so whole being able to do that. Part of that has to do with my gender dysphoria, feeling like I just wanted to slip over into that gender and not think about it. And for those years, I really tried my best not to think about it because I was young. It was 40 years ago. 40 years ago. I was in my 20s. And it was easy for me to do it back then. I looked good and everything was hunky-dory. He did not know until we were separated. He had had an affair, and I left and went back to my parents. He calls me up and said, "Come back home. This is where you need to be. Come back home. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah." You know how men are. So I said, "Well, this is the deal. I'm a woman with a transsexual past." He said, "What?" So I go to explain to him on the phone. He said, "Well, okay." He said, "You come home and we will discuss this, but this is where you need to be. This is your home." So, of course, I went home and we talked about it one whole evening. We never talked about it again. And we stayed together another year. But things changed. For one thing, he stopped kissing me in the mouth when we made love. Things were different because he knew that I was a transsexual. He treated me different. And that wound up being the reason that I left him, because it had changed our beautiful relationship. And I know a lot of it had to do with the fact that he cheated on me. And I was high strung. My mama kept saying, "Well, when they cheat on you, they come back with the exact same thing that they left with." Well, that's the way women were taught in her day. And I was a modern, progressive 70s woman, and I didn't think I had to put up with that. I thought I was above all that. So, but after that, I decided I would never marry again at all. But after many, many years, about 15 years, I married my last husband. And I made sure to tell him to begin with, because I didn't want to have to worry about none of that. Things were getting different in the trans community. I was trying to be educated and do things the modern way. So I told him, and then we were together for 18 years. But in the end, we wound up divorcing because he decided after 18 years, and him an old man, to marry a woman half my age, a Gigi, who could have him children, after he had promised me all along that he did not want children, that he would not make a good father. And I think he really believed that for a long time, but after his father died, he decided, after his mother and family coaxed him into trying to have children. So he's remarried, and as far as I know, he's still not been able to have children. So it's something you always have to live with, being trans. It's always going to be there. So this is my little story. I didn't feel bad about doing what I did. because it was something we all did. Like I said, those of us who could, did. Those of us who couldn't, bitched about it. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. And they still do that today. Those who pass and live good lives out in the regular world, we get dogged by the ones who can't. It's not our fault. And with FFS out there today, people can get it and blend right in. I would like to have some now myself, but I never had FFS. We didn't have FFS back then. So, all my face is natural, except for I had a broken nose fix. You can tell when I move my head this way, my nose is crooked, because it was broken as a child. And I had tried to have it straightened, but they didn't straighten it completely, so it's still crooked. But it was not a plastic surgeon that did it, so I've not had plastic surgery. This was done by an eye, ear, and nose doctor so that I could breathe. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It wasn't all that fascinating or exciting, but it's just my story. Because I did what I did, and I'm not ashamed of it. And I really don't like people making me feel that way. Because if you had been in my situation, and you had lived back in the days that I lived, you would have probably done the same thing. So, you can't go tooting on that horn in today's world for something that happened 40 years ago. Bye, y'all. I love y'all. Some of you, at least.